Hey guys, welcome to the Canadian Spartan Ambassador Podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Amber.
And I'm Jill, and we are ready to take you through some Canadian Spartan content. We are so excited to bring this podcast to you where we will discuss lots of topics Spartan Race Canada.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay connected for all our exciting episodes to come. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Canadian Spartan Ambassador Podcast. We are at episode 5. We have had so much fun connecting with all of you guys. So welcome back. And we are very excited to have Graeme online with us today. He is chasing the Canadian record for most trifectas in a year, guys. You don't want to miss this episode. Get on here, turn it up, find yourself a quiet spot, and tune in. Graeme is currently at 8 trifectas completed this year. He's got a goal of doing 16 and claiming himself the Canadian Trifecta Record. So, without further ado, Graeme, welcome to the podcast. Tell us about yourself and kind of like what brought you to this journey and this goal.
Okay, well, thank you very much for having me. What brought me to this journey? I broke my back. That's what brought me to Spartan. 10 years ago, I was snowboarding, hit a patch of ice, wiped out, smacked into a tree sideways, and I fractured two vertebrae. I had to have spinal surgery, so I got 4 vertebrae fused together. And that will always be the case. 2 metal rods, 8 screws. It's a great X-ray. Looks really good.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah, no, it looks fantastic.
So you chose Spartan as the answer to a broken back. That's a very interesting segue.
So it was a goal to get back into shape. It was I had certain things, and I had a good friend of mine who was he was talking about doing a Spartan, and I was like, you know what, I'll go do it with you, and then we can aim towards that goal together. He just wanted to go and do one to get in shape. And I was, you know what, I'm gonna get this done to show that I'm not broken and I can recover from this and get my way back to the person that I used to be and not have this injury hold me back. Because I can tell you the first couple of months were hard. Mm-hmm. Lots of pain, lack of sleep. I couldn't move around. Like any little movement was painful, and definitely had a moment where I was like, is this my life? Is this what it's going to be? And that was like a breaking point going, nope, I can't be like this for the rest of my life. I was 10 years ago, so I was 32 when that happened.
Wow, so that's an incredible story.
That's incredible. And it just shows you, like, I mean, we always talk about the unbreakable mindset in Spartan, and you embody that entirely. So I am like, wow, inspired, but also not surprised that you've ended up in this community based on like the tenacity that you've got. That is incredible.
Have you snowboarded since?
Oh yeah, that was the first goal. That was the very first goal. So my goal was at the 1 year mark, I'm going snowboarding again. And I went to the exact same hill again. And I didn't do the same run. I didn't tempt fate too much, but I did go back to the same hill, went snowboarding again. And I actually got to meet the people who pulled me off the mountain to go see the ski patrol and thank them and say, you know, thanks. Like you got me down. You came and dug me out of this ditch I was in and got me on the backboard and got me off the hill.
Yeah,
that was an interesting year, because even it was like, I guess part of my training that I had being in the military, it kind of kicked in once the injury happened. I just kind of sat down. I'm like, okay, I can't stay here. I need to get off this mountain, and no one can see me. So what do you need to do? And just kind of figured out how I can do this. What can I do on my own? Couldn't do it on my own. Got my phone out, called my best friend Fred, and said, he knew, I will never forget that he knew I was going. He answered the phone, was like, hey, how you doing? How are the slopes? And I was like, I need help. And he just kicked in overdrive and got on the phone and started to call ski patrol and figure out how to help me out and help get me off the mountain. And and then I tested fate again, because then I rolled my car 10 months after that and wrecked my car. Ended
Oh
up
my
up.
God.
Oh yeah. It's a great story. Ended up on my roof, and I remember I was hanging from my seatbelt, and I got the wheel. I'm like, okay, wiggle check on the toes. I'm like, okay, that's good. That's nothing's. I guess it's still intact.
So basically,
Wow.
what you're telling us is that Spartan races are safer than your life that was existing before.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're used to overcoming obstacles at this point, I think. Like you're
Yeah.
so I mean, okay, now I'm seeing the natural fit. So this is
Yeah.
all making sense. But wow, honestly, like good for you for like just pulling through and having such a positive mindset on the other end of it, because I can only imagine like the journey from injury to being out on the Spartan course, let alone chasing the Trifecta record, was nothing short of hard. But we choose our hard. So I mean, good for you.
Yeah, well, when I first signed up for, as I said, it was to go do it with a friend, right, and to encourage him, and then also give me a goal as well. Like, okay, I'm gonna get back. It gave me something to strive for.
Mhm.
And as I started to learn more about it, read more about Spartan, I discovered about the trifecta, and I'm like, okay, I want that. I want to get that goal, but I'll start with the sprint, and then maybe I'll do the trifecta the next year, right? Because I had the accident in 2013. First trifecta was 2014. I was like, okay, maybe I'll do it in 2015. I did the sprint. I was like, no, I'm getting it this year. Called up Spartan, changed my sprint to a season pass, and just started training like mad to go get that beast done in a few months after that.
I've heard that before with Spartans. I've heard that before. You start with one thing, and then it's like, yeah, I can only do this 5K because I've only run 5K before, so I'll do that. And then you get there, and you're like, I need to do this again tomorrow, and all of a sudden you're getting the Unbreakable Pass and chasing 16 trifectas. But can you tell us what a trifecta is for anybody who's listening who is brand new to this sport? Because I know we all know, and it's a normal term in our communities, but not everyone knows what that is. So what is a trifecta in Spartan?
So sure, trifecta. So Spartan has three main distances that they use. We have the sprint, which is 5 kilometers with a minimum of 21 obstacles. There's the super, which is 10K with 25 obstacles, and then the beast, which is 21K and 30 obstacles. At a minimum, we have the Spartan miles that always kick in. You never really know, but we guarantee there'll be at least 5. But if you do all 3 of those, sorry, say that again.
I love how that turns out. That it says 5K and then it might be 6-ish.
Yeah. So if you do all 3 of those, the sprint, the super, and the beast, and 1 calendar year, you earn what Spartan calls a trifecta. If you're really keen, we have these things called the trifecta weekend, where you can do all 3 distances in 1 weekend, normally broken down with the beast on Saturday, and then the super sprint on Sunday morning and Sunday afternoon.
And for those who are like Jill and will do anything for some fancy bling, I've got this here. I wanted to show everybody who's watching, and if you're listening, find this video on YouTube. So what he's saying is, if you do your trifecta in a weekend, you get a medal which looks like this, and that's only a special trifecta weekend medal. So if you do all 3 races, the sprint, the super, and the beast, in the same weekend, you can get this medal. If you do it in the calendar year, it doesn't make you any less of a Spartan. It's still a super big achievement. You just don't get this special trifecta weekend medal. So it's incentive to just really challenge yourself. And a great way also, if anybody listened to our last podcast about the ultra, this is a great stepping stone for someone interested in pursuing the ultra. But Graeme, so not only if you do 1 trifecta weekend, you earn this, but the second and third and fourth and 5th time you do a trifecta weekend in the same calendar year, this gets a little bigger every weekend. Am I correct?
So that one stays the same. The weekend trifecta stays the same. And I love to say one thing, if you can show, I love the weekend trifectas because on the ribbon, so all the medals are the same, but the ribbons on those actually give the location. And I tell you,
I love that.
Yeah,
it does.
So for what I'm doing this year, so there's your Mont Tremblant one. So for what I'm doing this year, I'm primarily doing weekend trifectas, right? Because, so yes, the 16 will break the record, but my goal is 20. So I'm doing 20 weekend, the goal was 20 weekend trifectas. So every location, I'm getting these ribbons that say where I was, which I'm loving to display that on my wall and say, yeah, I've been there, and I've been there, and I've been there.
That's cool.
I'm
So
with
you
you on
also then get a medal that says like 2 times and 3 times and
the multi trifecta.
Yes, the multi trifecta medal, and it gets bigger and bigger the more that you do.
So I don't have it with me, unfortunately, because it's hanging. They're all hanging up on my wall at work. But the times 8 is getting about this big. It's pretty much covering my face at this point.
You'll have to take a picture of that and post it on your social media for after the podcast, so that anyone who goes and finds you on social after can go and look at all the medals if they're interested in the bling part of that.
Yeah. Actually, speaking of social media, Graeme, while we're on that topic real fast, if anybody wanted to find you and follow you and connect with you on social media, what's the best platform to do that on? If you're on Instagram, like what's your handle? Or are you most active on Facebook? Where can people find you on social?
So I've been I'm new to Instagram. I'm still trying to learn Instagram. Definitely more active on Facebook, but I created an Instagram to do all my posts for this year. So my handle is CAF, so CAF, Canadian Armed Forces _Spartan. Okay. And all of my races, heading to the race, at the race itself, as I achieve each one, I try to walk around a little bit and show a bit of the venue, because I'm not just in Canada. Canada only has 3 trifecta weekends. So with the goal to do 20, I'm doing the 3 in Canada, 10 in the US, and 7 international events.
Wow. Amazing. Where were you this weekend? Weekend?
So just this past weekend, I was in the Czech Republic at, I'm not sure how to say it, but it's spelled BRNO. So I'm not quite sure how to pronounce that, but it's BNRO, Czech Republic. And this was really cool. So they actually set up at a autodrome. So not a whole lot of elevation gain. Mm-hmm. However, in the middle of doing the sprint and the super, they started to have a race car, a race. So as we're running around, we have these stock cars and race cars driving around us, whipping around as they go by us. And on Sunday, when we did the beast, they had a motorcycle race.
Oh, that's
and you couldn't keep up? What's wrong with you?
Yeah, they were a little bit faster than me, but like we got to enjoy them and had a good kind of pause and watch them go around.
Yeah, that's fun. See, that's cool experiences that you don't get in Canada. I mean, the most exciting thing you see in Canada up on the hill is like maybe some wildlife out in the mountains, but like you're definitely not seeing a motorcycle or a stock car out here.
No, not at all.
And what's it like being a Canadian over at another Spartan venue? What are the different communities like? When are you welcome there? Is it the same vibe that we have here? Is it better?
So definitely the same vibe. One thing, especially so all the overseas ones I've done right now are in Europe. Man, are they into their teams? So many people have team jerseys of Spartan this and Spartan that with their last names. So in Canada and the US, you see a couple people with it, but I would say 70 to 80% of the people racing there, they all have their team jerseys. And one thing that I find is really neat. So when I did check, when you go to look at all the stats, they actually have a breakdown of all the countries. Because everything's so close, we had people from Czech Republic, from Slovakia, from Germany, from Italy, from Spain, from Malta, from UK, from France, and they have all this breakdown of who is there. For the beast, I was just me. I was the only Canadian there for the beast,
representing.
And then people, exactly, representing. So I got my a jersey that I got from one of the what's it called? The Army Run that's held in Ottawa every year.
Okay.
So I found a jersey, one of those, and that's what I'm wearing. It's got my Canada flag on the shoulder, and it's all CADPAT with a Canada flag on one half of it. So it's for me, it's great because it represents for me as a Canadian, but also for me as a military member.
Oh, nice. You should tell us a little bit about your military background. Are you currently in the military? Is that your job? Awesome.
Yeah, so I'm still active serving, 22 years in. Got in when I was had my 20th birthday during basic. I'm a warrant officer now, so kind of upper management, I guess. And right now I work at CFLRS, which is our recruit school in Saint Jean, and I'm a platoon commander for teaching basic training. So if someone wants to decide to join up and become a military member, they have to go through me first. And I show them the ins and outs of what it is to be a member of the CAF.
So if they tell you they're a Spartan, then it might be better on the resume.
Yeah.
So it definitely. I've had a couple people. It's funny. So sometimes they'll see and they'll ask like, "Oh, how many have you done?" I'm like, "I've done more than you." They're like, "No," and I'm like, "Yes, I guarantee I've done more than you."
So I have to ask, well, first of all, thank you for your service. Second of all, okay, I have to ask, do you think like your military training, like I know it's intense, like do you think that mindset helped equip you for like Spartan and, just doing the hard stuff? Like Spartan always says, like do tough shit, right? Like, do you think there is connection there that helped you kind of prepare for that?
So I think there's definitely a connection. I think it's always just been part of me. I think if I see my wife nodding her head in the background, I think it's always been a part of me of just to challenge myself. And I've always been the daring one in my family. Like I think my mom spent more time in the hospital with me than my 3 siblings. I was always pushing the boundaries. So definitely the military brought that up me a bit more. And really gave me that, like, no, you can do this, and this is how you can do it, right? Like, you don't need to have that adversary stop you. Mm-hmm. You can push forward, and that's something that we really try and teach the recruits, right? Is all these small challenges of like, okay, well, we're gonna get something that's a little uncomfortable. It's safe, but we're going to expose you to this and show you that you can do it. And then when you realize you can do it, you're like, oh, well, that wasn't that bad. And then we'll push the limit and then push the limit and then push. And so you keep on pushing, and that's how you just grow, and things become less intense, because an intense situation will come up and like, well, I've managed that already. Yeah. So I can do this.
And that's literally Spartan in a nutshell. Like, does everybody not like finish their 5K and they're like, I could do a trifecta, right? Like, you're like, I just did that. Like, I can do this. And it's like, so it honestly, I like the way you speak of that just reminds me of, I think, how all of us feel at the end of a Spartan race. But I have to ask, okay, since you're like, you've got that training, I mean, like, I'm wearing my Hurricane Heat shirt. Have you done one? Have you thought about doing one maybe on a weekend you're not chasing a trifecta record?
So it's a little busy this year.
Yeah.
I definitely do want to do one. I did one that it wasn't Hurricane Heat. It was called Warrior Endurance. I did that last year with my my stepson. It was just something that came up in the local area in Montreal, and it ended up being 6 or 7 hours. And it definitely, it's one of the first times I've really felt pushed my limits of like, I'm done with this.
I think actually
like where it caught me to the point where I'm like, not having fun anymore.
I think you should sign up for Death Race. Yeah. From the sounds of it. It does. I would bet on you, Graeme.
So you know what, you say that when I saw the winter Death Race this past year, because I just bought my Unbreakable Pass, and then I got this email saying the winter Death Race, and like there's still an opening. I'm like, it's a couple hour drive for me from Montreal. I already have the pass. There's no extra cost.
Do it.
But then there's certain aspects you have to do. Like you have to have done an ultra or some other type of either a 12-hour or 24-hour Hurricane Heat. You need prerequisites.
I feel like the military background though I feel like Joe would look at that and be like, okay, he's a military person. I feel like he might have an in that way, because
or the Trifecta Canadian Record might get you in too. So
yeah. So
I'm voting on you to do it next year. I'm voting on it. I will submit the resume for you. I'll nominate you.
We'll put in all the references and. You're going to Kelowna, right? Are you going to Kelowna? There's an ultra there?
Yes, definitely. So the only Canadian race I missed this year is Toronto. and that's because I had to be in the US to do one of the weekend trifectas.
Right.
Other than that, I'm doing every single Canadian race this year.
Yes, Toronto was not a trifecta weekend here, so that was very strategic with your ultimate goal. So getting back on track here for a second. So like you said, you have the Unbreakable Pass, which
Yes.
Let's educate people on that for a little bit. So I think it was the end of last year they launched this Unbreakable Pass, and there was only so many of them. But what that is it gives people access to unlimited races for X amount of years, worldwide, within, I believe it's within DECA, Tough Mudder, Spartan. Tell us a little bit more about that pass that you got your hands on, because there was only so many of them.
Yeah, so with the Unbreakable Pass, it was it gave you access to anything within the Spartan brand. So Agogies, DECA, Tough Mudder, Spartan Trail. I don't know all the brands off by heart, but they have mountain biking events, they have paddleboarding events, the hurricane heats, Highlander series. Like there's too many, too many for me to memorize them. And that pass gives me access to every single one of them globally, which is astounding. And it was good for 3 years with the opportunity to extend it by an additional 6 years by doing certain events. So they introduced it when it first came out. It was about 2,100 US. And by the time they stopped selling them, because they were only open for about 6 months, and then they said, that's it, that's all, no more. And right before they took it off the market, it was about 5,000 US. So let's see, the earlier you bought on, the better. But with that, being able to extend it by 3 years, which was either you volunteer, you do 4 volunteer shifts a year, which is nothing.
Yeah, that's
get 12 new racers per year in, or you attend the Unbreakable event, and the Unbreakable event can be anywhere in the world. So this year it was supposed to be in Hawaii. Hawaii got canceled, so it's now going to be at Greece and the world's toughest mudder. So they'll have 2 this year. But you have to do that every year. So on a grand total, do volunteer 12 times, you extend it by 3 years. Volunteer another 12 times, extend it by another 3 years. So they had limited quantities. They only had 15,000 passes minted. However, they had an ultra rare pass. They had 300, aptly named. They had 300 ultra rare passes that if you got that, you were good for 9 years. No volunteer work, no unbreakable events, no gain new people. That's it. You're good for 9 years.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, you got one?
You got one!
Oh my goodness!
I thought he won the lottery.
That is so crazy. Like,
that's awesome.
I was on cloud 9.
Yeah.
When I found that out, I bought the pass on New Year's Eve, and then about a week later, I was like, okay, I gotta go. I'm gonna go register for all my races. And I'm like, how do I do this? So I go read the instructions, and I just see this ultra rare, and I'm like, no. What? Go and read it again. I'm like, no. I'm like, what? I jumped up, I ran to my wife, and I'm like, read this. Am I reading this right? Is this right? She's like, yes, you got it. You got the ultra rare. I was on cloud 9. I couldn't believe it.
That's great. So we've got an ultra rare in Canada then. I wondered how that would pan out, because I kind of watched it all. I watched it all knowing that I probably wasn't ready for that just quite yet. But I was wondering how and who would get that. But that's interesting and awesome that our Canadian Graeme got the ultra rare. It's like a video game.
Oh, I can't explain it. I keep on saying cloud 9, but I was just on an ultimate high. I was so happy. I was like, I can do this until I'm 50 now.
So is that what inspired you to do this trifecta chase, or did you have this in mind before?
That's why I bought the pass. Okay. So I bought the pass. So I think it was, so as I said earlier, I did my first race in 2014. I've been doing OCRs ever since. I got away from Spartan for a couple of years because none of my friends wanted to do Spartans. They were like, it's too hard. And I was enjoying doing them with them. But when I got back into doing them again, especially once I moved back to Montreal, where I had more access to it, because there's way more in the Montreal area, I was like, you know what? I haven't done a Spartan in years. I want to go do one again. And I went to go do one, and I was just giddy. I called my wife. I was driving. I was just bouncing along, singing. I'm like, I'm going to do a Spartan, and she's like, "What is?" It was like 6 a.m. She's like, stop! It's too early. and I got in, and I'm like, oh, man, I love Spartan. I love the atmosphere. I love the challenge, the community, the vibe that's on the hill, and interacting with people. It's not like any other event. I've done so many different other OCRs, and it's just not the same. It's not.
I always say, like, I'm the happiest on the Spartan course. Like, there's just something about being out there and around the community that just, I don't know, it just lights your soul right up. I'm always so happy out there. So I know that feeling. It's and real. The thing but I do have, we talked about the.
Sorry. I've got it. Yeah, there we go.
I do want to like ask, because not only do you have the Unbreakable Pass,
yes,
and you've got lots of Trifecta weekend medals and stuff. Your goal is to hit 16 Trifectas this year, and once you get 13 or more in the same year, you can get yourself a Spartan Shield in Greece at World Championships.
Yes.
So let's talk about that for a second here. Was that part of the goal? Like, do you do this for the bling, or?
So again, my wife is watching and looking her head when she hears about my bling. She's like, you have too many medals. It's like, you don't need to have them all up. I'm like, yes, I do. So
I love my medals too, so you don't have to convince me.
So I again, so about the Spartan Shield, I only learned, as I said, I really got away from Spartan for several years, and I really got back into it last year, and it just and I got into it again last year because I wanted to do my first weekend trifecta. So, and then that's what led to all of this year. But reading up, when they brought out the Unbreakable Pass, and they changed all the new guidelines for the lifetime trifectas of what you can earn and all this, that's when I found out about the Shield, and that's when I found out that they were getting rid of the Shield. And I was so disappointed, because I'm like, first year I'm deciding I'm going to try and do 13, and they got rid of it. And I just learned about it, that it was even a thing, and they were getting rid of it. And then I guess there were a lot of people that were upset about this, because 2 or 3 months later, I learned that they were actually going to bring it back. So what the Spartan Shield is if you do 13 trifectas in 1 calendar year, which is a lot for anyone to do. Even if you live in the US, where they have way more races, that is still traveling all across the country and doing pretty much every single weekend trifecta available. I think the entire US this year has 16 weekend trifectas, and 3 of them overlap. So you can only do 13. And you need to do 13 before the World Championships, which is held in Sparta, Greece, at the first weekend of November. You go there, and then you participate, and they have a big event. It's a big ceremony, and they present you with a Spartan Shield. It is a solid 2 feet around. It'll have, this year, the animal is the leopard, right? On the back of the medal, you have the leopard. So 2 years ago they had the scorpion, which is what it was. Last year they had the owl. So I'm presuming they'll do the same this year, that you get this giant 2-foot shield with they'll have the animal of the year.
So you're gonna have to get a space for that then in your medal collection.
Yeah, so you guys can see again, if you're watching, just because we're talking about it. So on the back of your medals each year, they have the animal of the year. So obviously this is 2023, and this is a leopard. So that is what will be on the back of Graeme's Shield when he goes to claim that this year, which is so cool.
I cannot wait. When I decided to do this, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to Greece. I'm going to the World Championships.
Yeah.
Every person I've talked to that have been there, said it's what an event. It's actually held in Sparta, like, so you got Spartan in Sparta. It can't get more better than that. On the Thursday, they have a big parade. They have all the nationalities march to the starting point with their flags. The starting point starts at the statue of Leonidas. And then you're actually in town, and you just go off into the mountainside, and you go up and down the mountain. And it's set up where you do the sprint on Friday, super on Saturday, and then the beast on Sunday. So you actually,
kind of the
as opposed
opposite.
to going from hardest to easiest, you're going from easiest to hardest. So you really got to, for the ones who are going for the competition, they really need to make sure they pace themselves to have that overall time, because the way they calculate the first place is the overall time of each event.
Oh, got it.
And it's that overall, they then combine that, and whoever has the best time through all three, they get the first, second, and third.
Oh, that's interesting.
And then you can go and just participate and go and do the event like I like to go and do, because I am not an elite. I can do it. I'm stubborn enough to get it done, but man, those elite athletes, they are something else.
It's amazing being on the same courses with them too. And like, we always go back to this Spartan vibe, Spartan community, but from the elites that I've met in our community to the age groupers to the open, everybody is as nice and as welcoming. And I don't see that in other sports necessarily. It must exist, but it's such a different thing for Spartans with that change of elite.
Yeah, so like when I'm on a course, and if I'm starting to slow down because I'm getting a little bit tired, or my knees are getting a little bit sore, and so I'm slowing my pace a little bit, more than half, I don't want to say 100%, but easily 60 to 70% of the people that pass me, it's always encouraging. Keep it going. You got this. Don't stop. Keep her up. Like everyone. And then I do the same. Like when I pass someone else, it's keep it going. Give them a fist bump. You got this. Especially when I see the black headbands. Right. You can tell it's sometimes it's easy to notice the people who are out there for the first time. If I'm doing the weekend, and so I've done the super in the morning. I'm already on my sprint, and I'm still you catch up to people, and they're pushing hard. Like you just encourage them, say, you got this. It's don't stop. It's step by step, and just don't give up. Right, keep on going towards that goal. If you don't get every obstacle, that's fine. If it takes you 4 hours, that's fine. It's about Joe's mantra. Like Joe's goal was to just what was it, at 10 million? No, it's more than 10 million, because he already has that. It was 100 million people. He wants to get 100 million people off the couch, right? And that was his goal with Spartans. Like, I just want you out, challenge yourself, be uncomfortable, because it's okay to be uncomfortable. And we definitely do not have that in today a lot, where we're surrounded. We have our heat, we have our AC, we have our Wi-Fi, our cell phones. It's easy to be comfortable. It's easy to not challenge yourself, right? But you learn something from that.
And then
you really learn a lot about.
And when it's too comfortable too, it becomes uncomfortable as well. So like Amber was saying before, you have to choose your hard. So it's hard if you are not uncomfortable enough and don't do hard things, then that becomes hard. Maybe your health fails, or your mental health. For me, it's mental health first that goes. But then you can do the opposite and do the hard part first, so that you can be comfortable. So it's like a give and take in that. So like Amber was saying, you choose your hard.
Actually, it's funny because I was at like a global conference for a health and wellness business that I work within, but one of the keynote speakers actually was talking about I don't remember the exact quote, but was stating how, like, somewhere in the lines of discomfort is the currency of our dreams. And it's so true, like, because there's no growth when you're comfortable. Like, you're not growing, you're not moving forward. Like, comfort means stagnant for the most part, right? So I'm really happy we're on this topic, because I absolutely love how much discomfort and growth comes along with a Spartan race in the best way possible. But like you said, like, you know, when you're out there, you're not out there alone. All you got to do is you just get to the starting line, and there is hundreds, if not thousands of people out on that course that will literally like help you through from start to finish in the Spartan community. And it's just amazing. And yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely
We're always
something
flowing on the community. It's always,
no,
it always comes back to that. But go ahead, Graeme.
No, I was gonna say that that's definitely something I've always really enjoyed when I'm on a course. So with a little bit of my military training, especially teaching recruits, we have our own obstacle course on the base, and we show people how to do rope climbs and to get up and over and do. We have our own like Traverlian traverse that we do, and we have 6-foot walls and 7-foot walls, and especially for the walls, like there's a technique, especially that 8-foot wall that we see on the beast. There's a way to get over a wall, and I've seen it over and over and again, and people, they're jumping, they're just there, they're struggling, and they can't get their body up. And I go, I'm like, okay, try this. And I'm like, jump up, attack the wall, get your elbow over, hook the elbow, and then swing the leg and use your legs. Stop using your arms. The power comes from your legs. I do it, I show them, and then I come around, I'm like, okay, you got it. And I encourage them, and they go and they get over on their own, and they get off that 8-foot wall. You just hear go, yes! And they're so happy, and a couple of them come to me and like, I couldn't have done it. Thank you so much. That was amazing. Thank you for helping me get over that wall. And I love that. I love being able to give that advice and help people achieve something they thought they couldn't. Right? Where they're looking at this wall going, how am I going to do this? I'm like, it's easy. You just here. Do this, right? And you show them how to do it, and then they do it, and you're like, how could I not have thought about that?
Yeah.
Right?
And actually, just touching back, because you commented about the color of the headbands that you see people wearing out on the course. So just like for those listeners who maybe don't know the difference between the red headband and the black headband is for open categories. So if you're just out there for the first time, or you know you're not racing for podium or like a placement finish, open is a great category to start. Or if maybe you're an experienced racer and you just want to go out there and have some fun. But the red headbands are for those who are racing in their age category or in their elite. So usually I say usually because there are people who jump right into age group, but usually that's for somebody who's done Spartan races before. You know, they're challenging their pace, they're racing for time. So if you see those headbands out there, that's how you can differentiate the two for anybody who kind of misunderstood what he meant by that, just to clarify.
We forget that Spartan isn't top of mind for everybody in the world. I know for the three of us and a lot of the people listening it is, but sometimes the dump of information on Spartan is not everybody has that. So how do you train, Graeme, for all of this, and where do you find the time to train?
So this year it's basically the races, because I'm pretty much racing almost every weekend. So 2 weeks ago I was in, where was I 2 weeks ago? Cincinnati. 2 weeks ago I was in Cincinnati. Last weekend I was in Tremblant. Just like a couple days ago I was in Czech. This weekend I'll be in Morzy in France, and the weekend after that I'll be in Utah. So that's pretty much my training. Like it's 40 kilometers for in 2 days, and then I'm traveling in between, and I'm still working in between. Like it's not like I'm just off work. I fly out Thursday night. I get on point on if it's overseas. I get on point on Friday. Usually I have to drive a little bit to the venue. Saturday, Sunday I race. Monday morning I leave. I fly back, land in Canada Monday, and then back at work Tuesday morning. Wow. So right now it's really my training is the races.
Yep, that's fair. That works.
But last year when I had 25 races on the docket between Spartan and other events, I definitely really work on my cardio. So I try and would do running 2 to 3 times a week. At a minimum 5K, at a max 10 to 12 I never find that I have the running to 20K I needed just to keep my cardio at a decent level. When I'm at my base, we have a track that goes around the base that's about 3K, and then we have workout stations. So I find that great for the Spartan races, because I'll run, do 10 push-ups, run, do 10 burpees, run, do 5 pull-ups, run, and just right. And I stop at all the stations.
Nice.
So it kind of simulates what we do in a Spartan race, where you run, do an obstacle, run, do an obstacle, run, do an obstacle.
Right. It's like basically interval training.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I will 100%. I will hit a mountain. You need to, especially if you're in Canada, you need to do mountain training. You need to get those legs moving. You need to climb stairs. You need to find hills. I live in Montreal, so we have a Mount Royal just within the city. Not a huge mountain, but it's something where it's long enough that you can jog up it, and it's different legs. It's different type of cardio, and if you do not have at least an exposure, if you show up at Mont Tremblant without doing any mountain training, you're going to feel it pretty quick.
That is true. And if you don't have that high elevation or hill training, or you can't access that, you literally need to get the heaviest things you have and start lunging as walking.
Yeah. We are doing a weighted vest will work really well. It's go a long way, because it'll help build up that strength. If you don't have access to a big mountain, just find some hills, find some stairs.
Bring heavy
find
things.
a friend who lives in an apartment building, and like, cool, do your 10 floor walk up twice, right?
Alternate piggybacking each other.
Yes, yeah. So
I love that.
There's always a creative way, right?
Yes, there is.
So what would you say if somebody was going to chase their first trifecta this year? They're really excited about that. And what advice would you give them for their first trifecta?
So it's funny.
Actually.
So I have two friends. One who she just did her very first Spartan race on 2 weekends ago in Mont Tremblant, and she was inspired by what I was doing last year to go and do a Spartan race, and she was very nervous. I'm like, no, Kate, you can do this. Just you're don't doubt yourself. If it's hard, but you can do it. Just go and get it done. And she did in about 3.5 hours. She saw me afterward and gave me shit, because she's like, it was not that easy. And I'm like, I didn't say it would be easy. I said you would do it.
You can do it.
You'll get it done. Just it might take who knows how long.
Yeah.
But she did, and she was doing biking. She was doing workouts at home. She was recovering from she had a knee surgery a couple of years ago. She was very nervous about that, so she just made sure she took it easy on the descents and didn't really rush, because she didn't want to re-injure herself, which is great. And she did it in 3.5 hours. But you did it, right? And I was supposed to do it with her, but I was with another friend who was doing his first super, who was really struggling. So I missed her start time, and then so I didn't get to do it with her, and I gave her props. I'm like, you know what? Not only did you do it, but you did it solo.
Yeah.
And doing it solo is another level. But a lot of it is that commitment, right? You're asking what it takes. Sign up for that first race, right? And if you commit yourself to something, it's gonna give you a bit more drive to say, well, I've signed up for it. Like, I should really go and do it and apply myself. So, and for doing the trifecta, again, I got a buddy, he's doing his first trifecta this year. He did his first Spartan race last year in Tremblant, did a sprint, and he did the Blue Mountain sprint as well. Nice. So this year he did the Tremblant Super. He's doing the Ottawa sprint in mid-August there, and he's doing the Blue Mountain Beast. So personally, I would recommend go in order. If you're new to Spartan race, do sprint, do super, do beast, right? It will give you that gradual build up, an idea of what it is to come. You'll do that sprint, and you're like, okay, that's 5K. That's what it feels like. Then you're going to do the 10K. You're like, yeah, that was a little bit tougher, but I managed to get through. And then remember that beast. Now it's a beast. Okay. It's, if you're new, you're doubling your kilometers. You're going from 10 to 20. the difficulty, the obstacles is definitely jumps up. They're going to be introducing that 8-foot wall. That's usually a big one for a lot of people to get over that 8-foot wall. So definitely with that beast, you want to get some preparedness. I've seen people, where was I? Was I in, I'm trying to remember which venue is which. I think it was Montana.
I love that
Montana. Yeah, it was
the venues, because he's been to so many. Like, this is
yeah,
awesome.
I know. It's such an awful thing. I had too much traveling. I don't know which one is which anymore.
Was I in Czech Republic? I don't know.
So I was in, yeah. So I was in Montana. I was going to Montana, and someone reached out through me through. I made a comment on the Spartan community post. Someone asked something, and I put my comments in and to try and help out. And someone sent me a message directly. It's like, hey, I'm doing this, and what would you recommend? And I'm like, sure. So I tried to help him out, and I found out he was going to Montana for his very first time Spartan, and he took on a Spartan weekend. So it never done Spartan race before, and he was going to do all three in a weekend. Now he was active already. He did a lot of hiking already, so he was already an active hiker. Did that regularly, so doing the mountain was not difficult for him. So it was an easy switch to get into the Spartan race. The biggest thing were the obstacles, not knowing what they're going to be.
Yeah,
but he had a great time.
You can jump right in. It's not.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Like, go for it if you want to, and there's penalties. You can do burpees, but you don't have to. You don't have to train, but it's better if you do.
Yeah, no, 100%. I'm definitely not saying if you want to go all in, have at her. Like, so look what I'm doing this year. The most trifectas I've ever done was last year. I did 3, and I went from 3 to 20. So, challenge yourself.
Well, because the goal for everybody can be different. Like, the goal can just simply be completion. Like,
yes,
get time out the window, podium out the window. Like, your goal might just be show up at the start line and make it to the finish line. And for a lot of people, like, that is a huge accomplishment. And even for me, sometimes, who does run competitively, sometimes my goal is just to show up and make it from A to B, right? So yep. I think intention comes down to everything. And obviously, when you're chasing such a massive goal like this, like, realistically, is your goal going to be to podium every weekend? Like, that's not realistic, but it just shows you that, like, you can go into any race with any intention at any level in Spartan, yes, and get the job done. So
if you get done in 30 minutes, I think the fastest time I saw was last year in Florida, which is very flat. Someone did the 5K in 20 minutes. I don't know how I don't know how they managed to do that. That is mind-boggling to me.
Yeah.
But then you also see people, they go and do the 5K and it takes them 3 hours. Yeah. And it's okay. That's what Spartan is. If you are fit and you're athletic and you really want to try something different, go for it and give it your all and see what you can do. If you're new and you're just having a goal of I want to be more active, or I want to get outside and I want to do something different, then you come and do it. And you don't have to be a fitness guru, right? Anyone can do it, 100%.
And there's always, like, constant ways to challenge yourself up, moving into trifecta weekends, trifecta years, all the stuff. Mm-hmm. So, you know what? We've covered a lot here with Graeme tonight. It was honestly such a joy, like, hearing about your backstory and, you know, how you got into this and just the mindset of, like, pulling through hard things. So thank you so much for sharing with us. Again, guys, if you want to connect with Graeme and cheer him on throughout his journey, he's at 8 this year. He's going for 16. He's halfway there. Connect
20,
with him
going
on
for
Instagram
20
or Facebook.
For 20.
Or 20. Sorry. He's going for 20.
So 16 gets me the record. My goal is 20.
Correct. Sorry.
I got to make it harder for the next person.
And one thing, Graeme has a GoFundMe page as well. And the reason why I want to bring this up is because Graeme, just a quick little thing, you're doing this for a cause as well. So it's not just for you. It's not just to challenge yourself and inspire others, which is awesome enough. there's a little bit of a cause going on. So tell us a quick thing about that before we say goodbye.
Sure. So I started a GoFundMe page. Right now I'm doing this as self-funded. So it's definitely has, all the traveling has a bit of an expense. So the GoFundMe was to try and help offset that cost. But I'm also want to raise money for cancer research. And the reason why I picked that, so if you remember earlier, I talked about when I had my accident, the guy I called to get me off the hill was my friend Fred. He passed away 7 years ago from cancer. He got melanoma, and he ended up passing away from it. So, and I'm doing this year to celebrate my 10th year anniversary of breaking my back and recovering, but I'm dedicating it to him, because he's the one I called, and he's the one that got on the horn and got things going, and he was my best friend. So to try and honor him, I would like to make a donation. So my goal that I set on GoFundMe was 40,000. I'm very put the sky's limit. We'll see if it gets there. The goal was to have 25% of whatever is raised. So if I only get 5,000, 25% is going to cancer research. If I hit the goal, that means I get to make a $10,000 donation, which I'd love to do. And if it goes over that, say this goes like wildfire, and which it happens on GoFundMe, no matter if it goes above, I will only take that 75%. So if it goes to 45, 50, then I get to make a 15, 20, 25. As soon as it breaks 40, at 100% will be donated. And yeah, I'd love to see it. If you want to try, if you go to GoFundMe and just search Spartan Record, just type that in, and you're going to see me. I'm the very first one. It says Spartan. What did I put the tag? Spartan Record Breaker for Cancer Research, or something to that effect.
Amazing.
Or if you want, if you don't want to search it, you can find it on my GoFundMe page. Oh, sorry, my GoFundMe page. You can find it on my Instagram page, and the link is right there in my bio.
Well, and I feel like that just adds so much more purpose behind your journey. So, wow, thank you for sharing. And I have no doubt that your friend is probably there racing with you every step of the way. Sounds like you guys are very close. So I'm sorry for your loss. Like,
that's okay.
Bottom of my heart, but I think you're really doing an awesome thing here, and I think he would probably be super proud of you, and I have no doubt he's probably out there racing with you every weekend.
I guarantee he would have said, "You're nuts," but yeah, let's go.
Yeah. Everybody needs a friend like that, right?
Yeah.
So anyways, okay, so like I said, you guys, you know what, please go connect with Graeme, hit up the GoFundMe page, guys. His story just got way more powerful. Again, thank you so much for sharing. It was so nice to meet you, connect with you, and hopefully we'll see you out on the hill in Blue Mountain. I'll be out there. I'll be in Killington too. Jill, where are you going next?
I am doing Ottawa next. Yep. Still undecided on Killington, but definitely Ottawa and Blue Mountain for me. So lots of high fives if I see you out there.
I'll have to do Killington next year. I plan to do it this year, but change of plans. Like, I can't quite get to that one. My wife wouldn't be entirely happy if I was in Killington.
That's a nice.
I have a.
Oh. More exciting news at the very end.
I know, you're saving all the juicy stuff for the end.
So everyone's gonna have to listen. We'll put a little teaser at the beginning. Wait till the end.
Yeah. Well, congratulations.
When is the baby due, Graeme?
September 20th.
Amazing. So we'll have a little Spartan baby in our community.
Yeah. October 2027. She'll be at Blue Mountain, because that's when she'll be 4.
You don't want to be going away anywhere while your wife is giving birth. I'm just going to give you a heads up on that one.
Yeah. So yeah, there was a discussion about that when she actually got pregnant. I was like, okay, what am I doing? She's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I'm doing one or the other. I can guarantee I'll be here, or I'm going for the record. Which one is it? So. There was a big discussion about that.
Podcast with your wife.
Yeah.
That is amazing. Well, Again, thank you so much,
Graeme.
Graeme, for your time and your story. It was honestly like, I'm just so inspired and fulfilled. And, thank you just for showing everybody what's possible by just, digging in, overcoming, and just believing that you can do it. So we're going to wrap it up there, guys. And stay tuned. We've got a lot of amazing content coming your way, guys. If you were inspired this week, I promise you're going to be inspired next week too. So don't forget to like, share, subscribe, do whatever it is you need to do to hear us out on this podcast every week.